Today we're talking about something a little different. It's going to be my collection of pens. Now, I think those of us that are crazy enough to get into watches in the first place know the feeling of when you start getting into a hobby, you obsess about it a little too much, you invest too much time, you over-research, you get way too involved in it. And so I'm gonna try and get away from going over the technical specifications of different pens and just talk about why I like them, why I use them, why they're cool, that sort of thing. So there are different types of pens between Rollerball, fine liner, gel pens, ballpoints, fountain pens, different nibs, different inks, different paper, a lot of different variables here that people spend a lot of time talking about and enjoying. I do have a different video that does go more into that, and you can find that linked up above that goes over all the different types of pens and why I like certain types. I prefer typically a fine line. I like flexible nibs. That's generally enough for this sort of video. In the bottom section here, I have the pens that I use every so often, but aren't, I would say, my go-to pens. The first one here is a Lamy 2000. I want to call this out because I have 3 versions of this pen. This one is a Rollerball version of it, but I've swapped out a fine liner insert. I really like the ergonomics of the Lamy 2000, and I think that's why I have 3 versions of it. Fantastic pen. This one does have, as I said, different insert in it. This is actually a Mont Blanc insert that's inside of it, but great pen when I want the Lamy 2000 aesthetic, but I don't have the need for a fountain pen, or I want something more permanent or more portable. This is what I use. Use this all the time. Fantastic pen. The next pen we're going to talk about here is a Jinhao. This is a ripoff of a more expensive pen. It's supposed to look like something I'll show a little bit later, which is more like a Pilot Custom Urushi or an Urushi style pen. This is just a resin base though, so you're just going to have a plastic, look of a pen. This does have in it a gigantic converter, which is great if you want all the ink capacity in the world. Definitely gives you a lot of function, but obviously a pen like this I use only every so often. I bought it mainly because I'm going to get interested in grinding nibs, but definitely a nice pen. Gives you an idea of if you like a large pen with a big barrel. When the pen's posted, it is absolutely enormous. So definitely need to know that this is the sort of pen you want to try out. Good trial for a very good price. The next pen here is going to be a Pilot Metropolitan. I do have 2 versions of this. This one right here is actually a stub nib version of it. The stub nib version of it has that flat nib on the front. That's a stub nib. In here is called Nitrogen. It's by, I think, Organic something. You can see it actually on the inside here where it's changing colors. This ink is really cool to use. It's not very waterproof, but it is a nice, cool look, and that's why I use this ink in here. I like a stub nib every so often because I think it's just neat. I think it gives you a nice look, a nice line variation while being relatively simple. The next one's going to be a TWSBI. This is the TWSBI Eco. Inside here, I have an interesting ink as well. The Eco, if you're going to get into pens, is a fantastic first fountain pen. Highly recommend something like this. Nice writing experience. Cool that it's a demonstrator. You can see the ink inside. Really like the Eco. This is a Parker Jotter. Everyone likes Parker, I think, that gets into pens. They're an old American company. They've been doing pens for a long time. The Jotter here is very popular because of its, really sleek aesthetic. I really like the Jotter. I don't use this pen all that often, but when I do plan on using a pen, it's definitely something I pull out every so often to take a look at. It does have a gel insert instead of the ballpoint because I'm not a huge fan of ballpoint pens. This one is a Parker Frontier. This pen is a Rollerball. I have it swapped out with a fine version of a Rollerball, but it still is a Rollerball pen. This one's going to be really inexpensive. It's like 20 bucks. As pens go, that's pretty inexpensive for this sort of aesthetic, and I think that's why if people were going to ask me to buy one pen, I probably would recommend something like this Parker Frontier. Fantastic. This is a Lamy Safari. If you're getting into fountain pens for the first time, this is the pen you probably are going to go out and buy. Lamy's a great brand. The Safari has a ink reveal here where you can see how much ink you have left. It does have a somewhat polarizing grip here with these 3 different resets here, so you can get nice purchase with your fingers. I think some people really love it. Some people really hate it. You kind of have to decide for yourself how you feel. Lamy Safari is a great pen. This is an Amazon Basics pen. If you're getting into pens, there's nothing wrong with an Amazon Basics pen. This is a fine one, relatively very inexpensive, and gets an idea of if you like fountain pens or not. Next pen's a Pilot Metropolitan again. This is just a fine version of it. Again, love the Pilot Metropolitan. Highly recommend it. This here is a Platinum Century. This is the 3776. I bought this when I was in Japan. When I graduated from college, my brother and I took 2 weeks and went there. I bought this pen while I was there. I didn't know anything about fountain pens, but it had a cool look to it and it had a gold nib. And that is basically the two reasons why I bought this pen. I've used this pen for years since then. I've only now actually really gotten into pens. So now I actually understand that this is a fantastic pen. I made a good choice. But at the time I had no idea. I paid yen for it. I felt cool. It definitely is a nice writing experience. I journal all the time. I have multiple journals. I write creative writing. And so pens are important to me, and I've used this a lot. You can see by the scratches on it. The top section here are the pens that I really love and the pens I use the most. On the far left here, the top section, I have a pen that I use a lot. This is the Pilot Custom 912. It's got an FA nib in it, which means it's super flexible. It basically gets you as close to calligraphy or old flex style pens without you actually having to go buy one. Very nice, very neat pen. I do need to swap out the feed here because it can't keep up with the ink, but that's a common problem with these pens. Very nice writing experience, and again, neat aesthetic as well. If you don't like these flattened tops, you can do something more like, let's say, the Pilot Custom 74. This is also a fantastic pen. Looks more like your typical cigar style pen. This is a soft fine nib, so you do get a little flex in this as well. In my video covering fountain pens and fine liners and whatnot, I showed this as one of those options. Inside here is a purple ink from Diamine, which I'm almost out of, but nice pen. Really like the writing experience with this one as well. It isn't often sold in this black and gold. Usually it's sold in different colors, but I like that. This is a Pilot Vanishing Point. Can't go wrong with Pilot Vanishing Point. Retractable nib, replaceable nib. You can swap out this whole insert feed for a different nib if you wanted something that's more like a broad instead of a fine. If you're first getting into fountain pens or you work in a business and you don't want to have, you know, a big loud fountain pen, this is definitely a great option to be able to give you a fountain pen when you want it, but no one really knows that you're using a fountain pen. So great pen. I'll go over to this side here and go over the two rollerballs that I have. So this rollerballer here, this is a Cross Century 2. This is the same pen that the presidents have used. They use this or the Townsend are typically the two pens that are popular right now. I think Obama used this in his term. Trump used it briefly. Biden used this with this exact insert, which is a fine liner insert. Really like this pen. Nice, clean, classic aesthetic. Cross is an American company, which is why they partner with the White House. I think this pen is very, very, very nice for what it is. Highly recommend this Cross pen. I think it's about $100. So nice pen. You're obviously not going to be getting that much better of a pen when you move on to this in the rollerball field, but this is, you know, closer to $500. This is a Mont Blanc Meisterstück. I always wanted a pen like this, and my wife bought me this pen this last winter, and I like to think that she kicked off the sickness of more pens because she bought me this because I liked it so much. The same insert I have in the Lamy 2000, I have inside this, which is the Mont Blanc fine liner insert. Really enjoy that insert. Nice writing experience. I find this to be a great size for my hand, and I think that, you know, this is just great, great pen. Really enjoy writing with this. Thankful to my wife for buying this for me as well. Fantastic, fantastic pen. Staying in fountain pens, I have two pens here from Lamy. You'll recognize they look exactly like the Lamy 2000 that I showed earlier in this video, except this one has an extra fine nib. The extra fine nib here is hooded. The Lamy has a hooded nib, which is supposed to help with feed of ink. It is a classic pen. Again, nothing you really can say wrong about the Lamy 2000. It does have a ink view here. You can kind of see it. I don't know if you can see that little light right there. So that allows you to see the ink level, whether or not it's clear or not, which I think is a nice aesthetic. The Macrolon version here is obviously way lighter than the stainless version, but it's going to give you, you know, a nice balanced feel. It won't feel too heavy. The stainless one can sometimes feel a little heavy. I also really like the extra fine in the Lamy, and this is an extra fine version. The stainless one here is a medium. I still use this a lot. In my EDC, I covered this one. I have found myself using this extra fine a little bit more than this one now, but I do still really like the stainless one here. Great writing experience. Love the milling and machining on this pen. Piston-filled pen. just like cool. I don't know there's much else you can say about these Lamys other than they're really cool, great writers, great aesthetic as well. Love the cap here. Love this milled cap with this spring inside. Fantastic. Okay, that moves on to my 3 probably favorite pens right now. These 2 here were sent to me by Wancher. They became my favorite pens because I started using them, not because they sent them to me. I do have reviews separate about these. This is the Olympus Titan. This pen is so stinking cool. It is a stabilized wood with a titanium here and then an 18 karat gold medium fine nib at the top. Writing experience is exactly what I want, which is nice and precise, but flows pretty well. You do have decent line variation with this pen as well, but I just love like that right there. That look of the pen and how smooth this wood is why I freaking love this pen. It's just so neat. Not like anything you see out of most other brands, and that is why this pen is always in my case at work. This is the other Wancher pen that they sent to me. This is an Urushi pen. If you're not familiar with Urushi, it is a hand-applied lacquer that is done in multiple different colors to give you this look. This is the Komonuri, which means that it's basically like a spinning top. They apply it in concentric circles so you can see all of the different lines and brush strokes of the fact that it was applied basically like would be applied on a lathe. Love the color of this pen more than anything, and it just looks like a piece of art. The writing experience is also really smooth and really enjoyable. It has a standard size nib, so if I ever want to change it out, I can do that. But the big call for this pen has to be the aesthetic. Absolutely love the look of this pen. The last pen, and probably my favorite pen, is a classic favorite for most people, and that is the Pilot Custom 824. Now, the 824 is a vacuum fill pen, which is a really cool mechanism, and I can go through that in a separate video. But the reason why people like the 824, this is a medium nib, is because of that thing right there. That big nib on the front is just the most smooth writing experience that I have ever had. I talked about this in a different video. I broke my hand years ago, and so I'm prone to cramping basically from writing for an extended period of time, but I like writing. So it means that I need to have a pen that will write well and requires very little pressure, and this is that pen. It flows easily. I like that I can close the vacuum chamber and I can take it on a flight if I needed to, and I'm not worried about it burping or spilling ink everywhere. I love the large capacity. I love the demonstrator look of it. I like the amber with the gold accents. It's just like the aesthetic plus the functionality and the feeling of writing with it makes this pen just absolutely fantastic. I find myself reaching for it far more than I thought I would. Absolutely love this pen. Big fan. That is my pen collection. I didn't ever expect to be doing a video talking about pens. I do have some others like art pens and some other gel pens as well, but these are the ones that I use most of the time, and these are the ones that I really enjoy using. It is fun for me to decide what watch I'm going to wear during the day and what pen I'm going to pair with it. And that's the fun that I have every so often. So for me today, I'm going to wear my Grand Seiko, and I'm probably going to write today in my office with this Urushi pen. Really enjoy the combo of the Japanese aesthetic of these two things on a given day. And love these pens, fantastic. If you're interested in pens, obviously subscribe. If you want to see more content about pens, let me know, and I will do more videos on it. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.